Welcome to episode 54 of A Gamer Looks at 40. I'm Bill Tucker. And on our very special, I'm not going to say ookie spooky. I feel like a lot of shows I like have used the term ookie spooky. And while it's a perfectly fine phrase, I don't know if this fits. A Halloween special, an extravaganza, if you will, starring my co-host here for this evening, Mr. Bobby Tucker. How are you, young man?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening.
Fantastic. Good evening. So I had a few ideas for a Halloween episode, Bobby, and none of them came to fruition.
Okay.
This, sometimes just require, you need stories and such, and they were hard to come by.
Huh.
So in lieu of some sort of extravagant special Halloween thing, like a lot of my contemporaries are doing, I figured you and I could talk about Halloween for an hour. Talk
Sure.
about like memories of Halloween as growing up as kids, spooky games maybe. And then I don't know if we have time left over, we'll discuss your obsession with horror movies. Not obsession, but it's your tradition every year.
Tradition and I would say quite a big fondness of horror for sure.
Sure, you do. You enjoy a good scary movie and a bad scary movie sometimes.
Oh,
there is
sure.
yeah, there's joy to be had in the average. So first, let's talk about Halloween. Growing up in Bloomfield, New Jersey, there, Carteret School, grade school. What's your earliest memory of Halloween?
I think the earliest memory or costume was second grade. I was a devil. And I had like red pajamas, devil horns, and like a tail.
Okay.
And I think I've seen pictures of that still. And I think I had a cape too and a pitchfork. And so I was the devil for Halloween. That was pretty.
I remember the pitchfork.
Yeah.
I actually have a very vivid memory of the pitchfork.
Well, I
and
would
using
definitely
it for...
still play with it long after Halloween.
Totally. Yes. It was a stabbing implement and a toy for smacking each other with. I remember the pitchfork very vividly. Not so much the costume. For me, I don't have the memory, but I've seen myself dressed up as like Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that picture floating around the Tucker archives.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes. I don't remember that. I think it was like 5. I always remember, there's 2 costumes for me I remember very vividly. One was the football player, because our Uncle Michael had shoulder pads and a helmet and like a jersey for some weird reason. And I was a football player probably 3 years in a row because it was a costume we didn't have to spend money on. It was just stuff we had. And it was neat. You walk around as a football player. So I was that for at least a couple of years. And then Pee Wee Herman.
I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Pee Wee Herman costume, and one of those you buy from the store, right? Had a mask and everything, and I remember wandering around as Pee Wee Herman. What are other memorable like costumes?
Oh, before what team did Uncle Michael like? I don't even remember.
He was a Jets fan.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a Jets fan. So it was all Jet colors and everything. Yeah, it was. He was a Jets fan.
Poor fella. Well, they're
they're good
doing
now.
okay. They're
doing good. They're doing good. Them and the Giants as of this recording.
Yeah, and the Bills. Yeah.
Yeah. See that? But anyway, yeah. So he was a Jets fan. So again, it was all green and white and whatnot.
I definitely remember being like a mad scientist, and I sort of repurposed that costume, but I had like a Doc Brown kind of wig, like a bald head with crazy hair on the sides. And then I had like a lab coat, and like, I think I was a bug scientist because I had like plastic bugs that I brought with me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you were. And I remember that costume vividly because it had like a bald cap of sorts. And then it had like, fuzzy mad scientist hair on the sides and back.
And then I repurposed the wig. It was part of like school pride month. And each week there was like a costume or some kind of challenge. And one of the challenges was to dress like one of your teachers. So I reused that wig and looked like Mr. Holtzman. I walked around with that wig, and I had a cane with a horse on it. For a little context, Mr. Holtzman was a very elderly English teacher. Old school, like, very pass or fail kind of, very difficult teacher. But
right.
I actually ended up liking him a lot in hindsight. In the moment, you don't like those teachers, but
Right.
But as an adult, you're like, I think you might have been the best teacher I ever had, actually.
Yep.
And that's the weird part about that. But he would always had like that hair, glasses, and I had like an old like a cane with like a bronze like horse on it. And I somehow came across a cane like that. I think my friend John lent me one. And so I came up with Mr. Holtzman. He was very flattered.
He was okay because I was curious if these reenactments of your teachers that you currently have, right, and have your grades in the palm of their hand.
No kidding.
You know, like would they be appreciative of some kid walking around with crazy scientist hair? But it's cool he had a sense of humor about it.
Well, that's the thing. I was petrified, but all my friends were like ecstatic. They're like, "Oh my God, you're Mr. Holtzman!" They figured it out immediately.
Oh wow, see.
And so when I got to English class, I was like, he looked at me and went, "Oh, I'm flattered. Thank you."
That's good. Good. I'm glad he had a sense of humor. Yeah,
because he wasn't known for his humor.
Right. No, I remember that name, Mr. Holtzman.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had him.
He was a classic teacher where like you had 5 questions on a quiz. You get 2 wrong, you basically fail the quiz.
Yeah.
So it was very, very hard. So we do like, it wasn't even part of the curriculum. It was sentence diagramming. Which they don't even require that. Even in my time, they didn't require that, but he insisted on it. And so you get like, you break down a sentence, what the subject, the objective, the verb, things like that, and you diagram it.
Yep.
And if you mess up 2 parts of the sentence, that's the quiz. It was really hard.
That's hard. And it's interesting because I guess it makes sense if you're going to test that because, you know, once you mess up subject and object, it's not a sentence anymore. There's no meaning to the sentence. So I guess that makes somewhat sense. But oof, I had a teacher like that. Just quick digression. My 6th grade teacher, Miss Collins, was like that. She was a teacher that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted Miss Collins' class. And for some reason, I ended up sitting right in front of her desk. You know, the curse of being the T. You know, T ends up at the end of everything. You know, T last name. And I ended up right in front of her. Yeah. And for some reason, I never minded her when I had her because everyone said you can't have this teacher, and she was okay, you know, she was fine. But then we had the school graduation, like the 6th grade graduation from elementary school, and we did this presentation, like this big production where every kid got to say something and do a thing, and I don't know, whatever. And instead of picking like the popular kid to like MC it, they picked me. Like she picked me to be the MC of this graduation ceremony, which was super weird for again someone who's not popular or not, you know, he's not the jock or not the smart, you know, whatever. It was very strange, but I think she, in hindsight, she saw something in me that I didn't know existed. And that's the mark of a good teacher, right? Who can see a kid and like, for me, it was probably, he's a blabbermouth. He'd probably be great on that stage. And I had a blast. I loved it. I like fell right into it. Like I was introing all the other kids and that's when Groompa, our grandfather, who those who don't know, that's when Groompa in my, I still have it, my autograph book, you know, to give you like an autograph book for 6th grade, like so people can write, you know, good luck in middle school, you know, like a yearbook, but it was an autograph book. And he wrote to the Jim Kerr of Carteret School. And Jim Kerr was a DJ on the country station at the time. He did the morning show. And it always stuck with me. I still have it. It's in this drawer, now it's 5 feet to my right.
Interesting.
And so again, teachers matter. You know, again, teachers are really important.
You remember most, you forget most teachers, but you remember the good ones. That's for sure. And the ones that make an impact, you stick with you for forever.
Well, I never dressed up as a teacher. I never did. I never was that bold. I think costumes for me kind of went away in high school. I don't think I really did much of it. Because trick or treating was kind of, you know, I would go with you guys, but I wasn't really into it. So it wasn't like high school now where everyone's dressing in costumes and having a good old time with it. That culture's changed.
We still did costumes when I was in high school. We didn't trick or treat, but we'd still show up to school in costumes. And that's when I graduated to the Grim Reaper costume. That became my go-to even for like adult Halloween parties.
Yep. Yep.
Just a fun costume to hide your face behind mesh, and you wear the big cloak, and I have a sickle. And then even as an adult now, I got a bigger one. I bought a newer one a few years ago that's bigger, and I have like skeleton hands that I wear with the same sickle though. So I never had to replace that.
Yeah,
that's a fun, simple costume. And if you want to eat something, you just pull the hood down.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just look like a monk with a sickle.
It's where I do remember though when I was a senior in high school, I went to school as Billy Corgan. So I had a Zero shirt.
Nice.
As I happen to own.
Yeah.
And I got myself like a bald cap.
Yeah.
You know, and I had like a bald cap kind of thing.
I remember that.
And then that was basically it. And I didn't own silver pants. I would have probably loved some Billy Corgan silver pants.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't remember what I wore pant wise. But Billy Corgan was and I walked around without glasses, you know, because Billy Corgan's not gonna wear glasses, couldn't see anything. But that was kind of one I did as a senior.
Nice.
And then the only other like adult one I've never been into, and then after high school, that was all right. I didn't do any costumes except for when I was in a radio station. This is a pretty decent story. Mm-hmm. So we were at the radio station, and just for context, did you ever get to go to the radio station at my school?
Not physically, no.
Okay, so you never were physically there. I was at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, NJIT, in Newark, New Jersey. We had a radio station. And I did radio there for 4 years, basically, for most of my time at college. And the radio station, just to give you like an idea, it was a pretty large room. There was a hallway, so the door leading into a hallway. And on this hallway, it was just pasted the big call sign on the right-hand side, WJTB, Geek Radio. And on the other side, all these stickers and posters and whatever else we got from record labels. And if you walked in, you'd be faced with the library that had all our CDs and all like our computer was there that we stole music from. And that was kind of the hangout area. There were couches. And then if you turn to the left, there were two booths. One was the production booth, which was basically just the DJ booth we had a lot of DJs especially early on. They would play like house music and techno and such. And then the other one was the broadcast booth with the microphones, a board, That's where I broadcast from. So they had a competition for all the clubs because we were part of a big club area, and all the different clubs had to decorate their door. Right? They're like, oh, decorate your door for Halloween, and people come by and vote on the best one. So So what we did is we actually replaced all the lights in that hallway with like black lights. So it was black lit. Walking in. When you make that left, there was like all these hanging tarps, like hanging white tarps, and such. It was really creepy, and lights placed strategically, creepy music.
Right.
And then there's a thing of candy. And when you approached the thing of candy, our program director jumped out and scared you. And then there was someone else there to take a picture. So, and it was really cool. Like we did a really good job with decorating this thing. And we're thinking, oh, we got this beat. Like we got this. Come on. Got this beat. And all of a sudden we were disqualified because we didn't decorate our door. We decorated and reconfigured our entire radio station, but we didn't decorate our door. And we did not win the ye old grand prize, which I don't even know what it was.
Yeah.
But that was legit. And that was the year I went as Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory.
Right.
Because I worked at the deli/seafood department at King's in Upper Montclair, New Jersey. I had the coat. It looked like a lab coat that was from the seafood department people, and I got some blue gloves.
Yeah,
I think I actually colored my hair orange for the occasion, and got some big goofy glasses. So did my impersonation, which I will not do now. Probably embarrassing. But that was one of my fondest college Halloween memories.
Yeah, I remember the door. I don't know why I remember that detail. I just remember.
Yeah, we didn't win because we didn't decorate the silly door.
I guess that was one of the criteria. Yeah. Bummer.
Yeah. Any other stories of? Because I think you stuck with the Grim Reaper. I remember that for a while.
Yeah.
And then, in your circle of friends, do you guys do a big deal for Halloween, or is that only my sister and brother-in-law who go all out every year?
No, my friends Stephanie and Russ, they would throw a Halloween party a few years now, but we haven't done one in a while, I think, but post-COVID for sure.
Sure.
And I either break out the Grim Reaper. One year there was a Marvel theme, so I actually bought a Hawkeye costume.
Okay.
That was like probably the last adult costume I bought. The only reason I picked it because I still have my Nerf bow and arrow.
Nice. Excellent.
But I had to buy like replacement arrows. I couldn't find those for the life of me. But
yeah, probably not.
But so I had the Nerf arrow, and it was a hit.
Yeah. Do you ever remember going into somebody's house for trick or treats?
Going inside? No.
Yes. You don't remember this? I have a memory. So we used to do Halloween. We would go around our neighborhood, but we would often then go to Groompa's neighborhood in West Orange.
West Orange.
Because, we figured the goods were better there. Like, people with a little more affluent, candy's going to be better, etc. I don't know if that was true or not. Lots of hills, I remember.
No, I'll help you out. It's absolutely true.
Was it true?
This is socioeconomics 101 to your listeners. We're not going to pretend. We're not going to beat around the bush here, folks.
No.
Where Bill and I grew up here, in a particularly, I guess, a working class area. Candy was good, but, hit or miss. You'd get maybe a Kit Kat, but then you get like a dried out Jawbreaker or something,
Nice.
or Smarties. Those are the worst. I never liked
Smarties are legit, man. I'll eat your
They're
Smarties.
chalk. Anyway, Smarties and Necco wafers. I'm like, this is before they invented,
Flavor.
It's before they invented bubble gum. But anyway,
yeah.
But if you go up to like a more affluent town, or town with a higher tax bracket, that's when you start seeing better sized candy bars. Lindsay and her friend, our sister, would go to like Little Falls or like one of the or Montclair with Teresa, and she'd come back with like full size Hershey bars. It's absolutely true. There's no way around it. Yeah, it's just that's
the nature of it.
That's economics, kids.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just the nature of life in these parts. But I remember we used to go to West Orange and walk around that neighborhood, and I remember just being lots of hills, me sweating. Yeah. I think I dressed as Batman one year, I did a Batman one year, and I remember having the cape being all heavy and yeah. So anyway, I seem to think in one of our West Orange jaunts to my grandfather's neighborhood, our grandfather's neighborhood, someone invited us inside.
That's weird.
Someone and said, "Oh, come inside for a minute," and I think I did. Now, mind you, I have a lot of moments in my life that I may have dreamed, and I dream very vividly. And so this could be a dream that just got stuck into memory hole, like found an empty memory slot in my brain and said, I'm going to live here. And now Bill's going to think this crazy thing was actually real. So I don't know. But I seem to think walking into someone's home and them giving me an apple as if that's worth going to somebody's house for, and then leaving very suddenly. I just seem to, I can visualize it like I could lay it out. I could draw it for you if you wanted me to draw out the layout of this home. And yes, I think I maybe that didn't happen. Maybe it did. Do you remember, Bobby, UNICEF boxes?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Yes. Being a shill for almighty UNICEF as we wandered about the streets of Bloomfield / West Orange. UNICEF boxes. Did anyone ever put money in there other than like our parents?
The occasional sweet old lady who had pennies that she was going to throw in. Yeah, sometimes old ladies would give you pennies instead of candy.
Yes.
So they would put that in the UNICEF box.
You could go to the store and get yourself a penny candy. No, you can't. That's not anymore.
I like to think there's like a window of time where like old people would give you pennies. There was a window of time like when people still went door to door, and then casinos invented penny slots, and then and so whatever that window of time, that's when they ended up at Halloween. Once penny slots were invented, they're like, oh no more pennies for the kids.
UNICEF was doomed. It was this little cardboard box with a slot, like little card, and you had to hang it around your neck. Like it literally was something out of I don't know, A Christmas Carol with Scrooge. It was something. It was definitely a thing. So listeners, if you had the UNICEF box, I'd love to hear your tales of it.
It does hark back to like Alms for the Poor, back to like Dickens time. Yeah, it does. It totally does. Yeah, I never even made that connection.
It's such a like a Dickens saga. Yeah. So that was the UNICEF boxes were a big part of the experience. I don't think we have that anymore. My son has like 5 days of Halloween. All week it's Halloween. Yeah, all week. Yesterday, this is recording on Tuesday, the 25th. Yesterday, he go to school in his pajamas, which we all know how great pajama day was in school. Come on,
sure.
That's awesome. That's this ultimate coziness. Today, they asked him to go as your favorite 70s, 80s, or 90s character. And you're asking a first grader. This is a first grader who doesn't even know what year it is.
You're asking a first grader's parents.
So you're asking, exactly. Hey, parents, dress your kid up as your favorite 70s, 80s, or 90s
your
character.
favorite character is Alf, Will. Absolutely.
Well, I could have gotten away with like Ninja Turtles because he's super into Ninja Turtles now after playing Shredder's Revenge. He loves
There are some timeless things from the 80s. Yes.
There are. So we ended up, because we kind of got caught off guard, as we usually do with these sort of things. So my wife dressed him up as like 90s heartthrob. So like insert 90s heartthrob, whatever one you could. And we parted his hair like with the hair sloping by his eyes, and he put him in a flannel shirt, and like I don't know how we found stonewashed jeans, but we did. They're somewhere donated from somebody. And he legitimately looked like a kid from the 90s, like, of course, when you pick him up, his shirt's gone. The shirt's gone. He's got his undershirt. His hair is a mess. Didn't keep character.
Now he's a 50s greaser.
Yeah, exactly. And I forget what he needs to be tomorrow, and I should know this because we need to prepare for that now, or we just won't. It's fine. And then he can wear his actual costume on Thursday, I think it is. Thursday or Friday. His actual costume. He's going to wear his Batman costume. My son has numerous costumes.
Nice. Yeah,
he wears
Spider-Man costume.
He has a Spider-Man costume that my wife needs to repair. He he has a pirate costume, an astronaut costume, Batman costume.
Damn.
He has probably 7 or 8 costumes that he could just go to. A ninja costume. But he's not allowed to bring any swords or weapons, because they don't want the kids running around the class trying to hit each other or shoot each other. So he's going to go with Batman. Batman has no weapon. It's just him and Batman. So he's going to wear it. It's a legit costume, too. It's cool.
Does it have like a utility belt?
Yeah, it's got the utility belt. Like the chest thing is all armory, you know, and it's got the wrist things with the spikies on them and the cowl, the mask.
It's incredible.
Great. It's every time my wife goes to a Costco or something and she sees the costume, she just buys it for Will. So he has several that he just kind of has on demand. And my daughter, my 2-year-old, has a Wonder Woman costume. She barely fits in, so she'll look around cute. So as we kind of wax poetic, I guess. So Halloween growing up was fun. I agree, Halloween was fun. But what this show is about are games.
Oh.
Video games.
Like bobbing for apples? Oh, video games.
Oh, no. Ew, whoever does that? Have you ever... No.
Once, yeah.
No, come on, stop. You've never bobbed for apples.
Well, yeah, there was one Halloween party I went to in grade school, and they actually did have a bucket of apples. I did not think of it at the time that was gross.
It's disgusting. That is a horrible practice.
And then as I got a little older, I went, oh yeah, that's not sanitary at all.
No, just awful children faces, just gumming apples.
But legit, it's hard to grab an apple and water with your mouth. It's really hard. I couldn't do it.
The prize better not be that apple, because it's certainly not worth it.
The prize is nutrition, sir.
Oh,
and
yes.
And healthy gums. That's your prize.
The prize is roughage and
free water.
all the water you can slurp. I'm not continuing down this rabbit hole. We're gonna stop this train and go over the games. You're a fan of scary games.
Sure.
I am getting more into scary games. I historically never loved them. However, so I will just put it to you. What do you think was that first game that genuinely scared you, that kind of put the fear in you?
Very interesting. Give me a minute.
While you're thinking, I'll share mine.
Sure.
I think I've shared this story on. I shared the story on games my mom found. I know for a fact. I will share it here. I want to say 9 or so, maybe 9 or 10. And it was one of those Saturdays, rainy, crappy day.
Yeah.
And I was playing Metroid. And for some reason, Mom let me play Metroid for hours upon hours upon hours. Because I guess there's nothing else to do. It seemed like I played for 7 hours straight. Now, I know that can't be correct because Mom would have made us go upstairs for dinner, or I had to go to the bathroom or something. But I fully 7 hours rings in my head. And this could be a memory that's fake as well. Just, I don't know. But I'm very, very confident this is real. I beat Metroid, the original NES Metroid. I feel accomplished. I turn around and I swear I think I see Ridley under the stairs. Like I am like almost hallucinating. Like and I'm terrified. I'm like walking up the stairs slowly, trying to avoid my mental Ridley that's there. It was the first game that really zonked me out and immersed me, in a way that was beyond what TV could do, So that was like my first scary moment.
I do remember that story too. Okay. And I don't remember if I remembered it at the time, but I remember you being pretty freaked out.
Yeah, I don't know how old you were. You may have been like 5 or so or 6. Yeah. Maybe I was 11. I don't remember, but
yeah. Interesting. One of my earliest memories of a video game scaring me wasn't really a horror game per se, but I do remember like it, for whatever reason, it kind of creeped me out. And it was when I first played Double Dragon 2 on Nintendo. Okay. And there's a stage, there's like a haunted stage where you're like in, I'm going to do a quick research because I'm going to mess this up.
Yeah, it's the haunted stage that has purple background and there's eyes floating.
There's eyes floating. There's platforms that come and disappear. And it's sort of like I don't even know what the context of it is in the game, but it has like this weird soundtrack and these weird sound effects. And I remember it kind of creeping me out as a kid. I remember playing it. And it was also very hard because you have to do platforming in that game. But that's like one of the first memories of a game actually kind of like creeping me out. But I'm trying to, there's lots of games with lots of like jump scares, things like that.
Well, if you had asked me, my guess would have been Silent Hill.
Well, Silent Hill 2. So Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite games ever, and nothing really quite compares to it, just in presentation and just, I can do my own episode on that. But I do recall playing, there were many times that game creeped me out. The game's not a jump scare game. It's an atmosphere sort of, it sneaks up on you kind of game. It kind of sticks with you. I've always preferred that kind of horror in general. But I remember playing that game one evening until and I lost track of time. It was like 1 a.m, and I was like kind of like starting to like doze off in front of the TV. And I went, oh, I gotta go to bed. But I saved the game, and then I started going up to bed, and I was like, I don't feel right.
Oh no!
I'm like afraid to walk through my house right now. Like I'm a little something about almost falling asleep to that game and whatever the soundtrack did to my brain subconsciously. I was like uneasy going to bed that night. And I was like, I was already in like my 20s, but it somehow snuck into my conscious that way. That game just has a wonderful effect on you with sound design and just creepy visuals. It does a good job. And that I would say Silent Hill 2 is definitely a benchmark game for me as far as
are you excited for the remake? For the remaster or remake they're calling it.
Is it a remake of the first one?
Silent Hill 2.
They're remaking Silent Hill 2. Okay.
Yep. Silent Hill 2 remake. It came out, I think the trailer came out yesterday or maybe it was last week. Yeah, I think it was last week actually it came out, but 6 days ago, according to my very brief research. So when Silent Hill 2 remake comes out, you and I will plan an episode and I can release it on that week. and we'll just get those clicks up. Just boom to the moon, to the moon downloads.
Yeah,
we'll,
this
take
is all very recent news. Yeah,
yeah, this is brand new news. They just announced it that they're doing
because they did do a remaster, like an up-resing remaster for like PS3, and it was a disaster. They tried to do it with Silent Hill 2 and 3. I don't think they did it with 1. 1's from PS1, so there's nothing to up-res there. But PS2 and PS3, they tried to... Silent Hill 2 and 3, they tried to up-res for PS3 or PS4, I forget which. But Konami, like, doesn't have the master files anymore. Like, they had to build off some sort of, like, old, like, debunked demo and then rebuild from there. And the game is just plagued with bugs. It's just, and it's such a disservice because if you want people to experience this game, like, this ain't the way to do it. They really messed up, especially a game where like sound design is so important to the storytelling. And yeah, there's many YouTube videos of how they messed up the remasters of those two games, unfortunately. So apparently my copy for PlayStation 2 is like a coveted thing, and I gotta put it in a safe somewhere.
Yeah, really. It's a coveted item. Well, maybe for the remake, Silent Hill 2 remake, maybe they'll throw some microtransactions in for everybody. Maybe you can, I don't know, spend $10 to get 18 skull coins.
Awesome.
And you can spend 10 skull coins to get rid of Pyramid Head. You know, at one shot, just poof, there he goes, away.
Oh, I got a bargain with Pyramid Head.
There's your there you go. That's your attention. That's how your character deals with his past trauma and demons. Poof, there he goes. So Silent Hill 2 is definitely one of those, I think, formative for you. I know you're a big fan.
Big time.
I think I've shared this story on games my mom found as well during our BioShock episode. So I'll share it here real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You know this story.
Sure.
This will be for everybody else, not you. BioShock. I love BioShock. Everyone knows, but it's a really scary game. And obviously the first one has lots of atmosphere.
For sure.
And it was an era where I just was trying to avoid a lot of that. And so I'm playing through the game, and there's a moment in the game where you go into a section, you're killing things in this, it might be the medical section. It's early on in the game. I think it's the medical plaza. And you're killing things, and you make a right turn, and along this long hall in the distance, you see flashing light, and you see a splicer, the silhouette of a splicer doing something to a something. It's terrifying. And you're in water. So you're walking slowly. You can't walk faster. You can't. So you're walking forward. All of a sudden, lights go out. Boosh. Oh, crap. So obviously you're walking slowly. All you hear is your footsteps and the cackling of the monster. And then the lights come on. And it's gone. The splicer's gone. So you slowly turn around. You see what it did. Death, destruction, horror. Yay. Take whatever treasure was there. And now, of course, because you're a gamer person, you think, all right, well, I already cleared out this section. Just on your merry way, going through, walk through the water. And as I make that left turn back out of the water into the main room where I was at, some splicer jumps out of a wall or a drawer. It was like one of those corner table things, what you know what I mean, like those like slabs that you put dead people on. They jump out, scare me. I fall back, shoot into the air, get murdered, turn off the game, and go to the bar. I was like, screw this, and I didn't play the game for another 6 months. That was it. Forget it. I'm like, forget it. I screamed. I literally screamed, turned off the game, walked to the bar. I probably spent about 3 hours at the bar. And then that's what it was.
Billy needs to calm his nerves.
I had to calm my nerves. And Pete, our brother-in-law and beloved patron, he said to me, he's like, Bill, why don't you just play with the sound off?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Got through BioShock, no problem. Subtitles, boom. And it's a testament to how important sound is for horror.
Oh yeah,
how important it is for atmosphere and everything else. So that's the first time I played through BioShock. I played it with no sound on and subtitles.
What I've always loved about horror in any medium, films, video games, is that it really does. It's a genre that utilizes all the senses when it's done right, and I think that's why a lot of filmmakers, their first movies are horror, because even if you have a low budget or maybe not the best actors, you can compensate with really good filmmaking. And you can create horror and editing and like with sound. So yeah, for sure, sound is a very big part of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of films, I think we have about 20 minutes left, so I figure let's kind of make this a 3-part thing.
Well, real quick though.
Oh yes, any other games though? Yeah, go for it.
Well, no, just Silent Hill, the new Silent Hill 2 remake. I was just looking at it, and they're gonna sort of like build it from scratch a little bit, but my thoughts immediately are like, well, if they stay true to the original and retain what made the first one great, then yeah, they need a proper updated version for people to enjoy this game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you have to like hunt down a PlayStation 2, which stinks. But they did Konami hired a developer called Bloober Team, which they made it was kind of a hit called Layers of Fear. And that kind of concerns me a little.
Oh no, no good.
Well, some people love that game. I barely call it a game. Actually, it's probably what you would refer to as a walking around simulator. But you kind of go around like from room to room, and then like sort of like jump scare things happen. It's more like a virtual haunted house.
Yeah, gotcha.
I can't complain about it because I've never really played it, but I've seen enough footage where I'm like, I'm not that impressed. It looks kind of boring, and I'm like, oh, well, I hope they do a little better with Silent Hill 2, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a big property, and that's going to be a lot of expectations for that. I didn't see when it's coming out.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they've announced it yet.
Because when Konami made the original, like in 2001, I think it was, like they had an unusually good Japanese team that worked on it, and they were small. But they had like a common vision for it, and I think that's kind of what made it so special. Anyone who's ever tried to like pick up the reins from Silent Hill, because like American companies have tried to make like newer versions and stuff, and it's just never quite got it right. So it is a tough thing to nail. I don't know, but I have some reservations about this.
Yeah, it's like the curse of Silent Hill. Like your game will be cursed if you try to emulate this.
But hey, I didn't think Bethesda could make a Doom game. They made 2 really good Doom games. So.
They're really good.
Yeah,
they are very good.
They did a very good job. So
they're super fun.
I will reserve comments until they come.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, Bobby, I would say you're a bit of a horror connoisseur. You every October, you watch nothing but horror movies, or you primarily watch horror movies.
To clarify, I try to hold off on watching horror movies year round. So when it comes October, I'm very excited, and I always have a list. But then the list grows because I find new ones I've never seen before, and yeah, I've been doing this for a while now,
and I love it. And you've been doing this since you were probably in college.
Yeah,
I don't know. You've been doing this forever.
Since I was like 20 or 21. Yeah, roundabouts.
So funny, so good. So, in your travels of watching movies, if you had to recommend I'll say one movie. Let's say one series, one scary movie series to watch during October. Because people may. I want to say one movie because that just basically says what's your favorite. What series would you recommend someone watch during the Halloween October season?
Now I guess to get you like in the Halloween spirit, perhaps, or like
Sure.
Does it have to be?
This is like an everyday person. It's not like a big film buff or just someone's like, you know what? I need some good horror for the month of October.
A franchise. I immediately I go to like the main 3. Like there's like there's the Halloween franchise, and there's Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th is actually pretty good because all those movies are the same. So if you just want something on in the background, like they're not.
Yeah,
they're not. Yeah, you just kind of like barely pay attention until somebody gets murdered. But they're fun. But I wanted to say Nightmare on Elm Street, but I only like 2 of them, so it's kind of hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which 2 do you like?
Well, the first one and then the third one, Dream Warrior.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really good.
People really like the 6th one for some weird reason.
Oh, New Nightmare. That's good. Yeah, I think that was like a return to form. But they're all fun and they get sillier as they go
get
along.
really goofy as they go on.
Because the first one they actually try to be like kind of scary.
It is. It's actually intense.
There's some great scenes, some good clever imagery. Yeah, no, it works. I like it. 2 is what it is, and 3 they kind of perfected like the formula a little bit. They found the good balance too, but then by 4 they got really silly, and it just gets sillier from there. And most franchises get silly because I don't know, most horror villains have a limited scope, so to bring them back, movie after movie, they start to you have to start adding details that become silly. I think that's just inherent.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely part of it. So let's say we'll go like Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah.
Now, what if the person you're talking to is a bit of a film buff? They've seen all that. We've seen Halloween. We've seen that. You got to pick a series or a director. A director that's kind of known for it. Like, who would you say to someone who's a little more film buffy? Here's a director to watch during Halloween. Again, you're not saying every day, obviously, but what would you say to that one?
It's funny, like one of my favorite horror movies is The Shining, but that's not a horror director.
No.
And so I can't like recommend any of his other movies if you're looking for something for Halloween. But there's your Wes Cravens, there's your John Carpenters. Carpenter's got some bangers actually. He's got The Thing, and he's got Halloween. It's not bad. I'm still thinking.
Okay.
Trying to think of someone who's film buff here. I think the film buff answer, but it's not my recommendation, would be Argento. But,
that's who I thought you were going to say.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say Argento.
But I don't know. I don't want any of your fans to find out where I live. I don't particularly like Dario Argento.
Really?
Yeah,
okay. I know you've seen a lot of his stuff.
I give him an honest try, and some of his movies I do like. But the people who love him, I don't share that same passion.
Interesting. Okay.
I've watched Suspiria twice because the first time I didn't really like it that much. And it's supposed to be like that's supposed to be like an Italian classic.
Right.
So I gave it another try just to see if I like it more, and really like the stuff that I like, but as a whole, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't call this a favorite. And I love the remake. I love the remake.
Really?
Of
Okay.
Suspiria. I didn't like the ending, but I like but everything else that the filmmaker came up with was pretty good. And yeah, it's tough. Argento is I don't know. His stuff is more interesting than scary. I don't find his films particularly scary. He tries to scare you with the color red. I don't understand. It doesn't do anything for me. But his gore is very good, and he's got very good ideas, of course. And then I think the other Italian filmmaker is Fulci, but he's a little more trashy. But he's also a lot of fun too.
I have no idea who that is.
Lucio Fulci. Yeah, he made the original zombie film and The Beyond.
Oh, okay.
He made what was the one with the cat? That was unintentionally kind of funny, but also violent.
With the cat?
It's a cat that kills people.
Maybe that's the name of the movie, The Cat That Kills People.
Perhaps. Oh man, he made so many movies. Look at his list right now.
But that would be someone to look into if you're really into. Is it more horror? Is it like scary? Is it gross? Like what's the?
Yeah. Oh, The Black Cat. That's the film. Yeah.
Oh, is that based off of the Poe story?
Barely based off the Poe story.
Barely.
I think the name alone. So I don't think the Poe story quite follows this, but yes, it is technically the Poe.
one of my picks would of course be Mr. Stuart Gordon.
Oh sure, yeah, that's
for
fun.
Reanimator.
Again, that's more fun than scary, but yeah.
Oh boy, is that just a gas, that Reanimator. If you want to hear my thoughts on it, games my mom found. We did an episode on it last year.
Sure.
where I sung its praises, and poor Mike Alberton, who doesn't like horror movies, just shocked. He didn't know what to do with that. He just didn't know.
From Beyond is another good one he did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Beyond's good.
Fun, yeah.
Super, super fun. Also, maybe Cronenberg would be good.
Yeah, there we go. That helps. Yes.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of body horror, but also, but then like a film like Videodrome, which is disturbing, but it's not quite horror. I don't know how to categorize that movie, so.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure how you would categorize.
But yes, for sure. He has a lot of great films, thoughtful films. So for someone with a little more discerning taste, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, discerning taste.
Discerning taste. Yes.
My goodness. Yes. Very nice. Cronenberg is just can be extremely gross. And horrifying.
Yes.
And I have to, I have a guy I work with who loves Cronenberg.
Yeah.
So when the new movie came out, I knew he had seen it because he has that new movie that was, I forget what it's called. And when it came out, I said, "How was that new Cronenberg movie?" He's like, I liked it.
Yeah.
But I'd read up on it first because there was stuff in there that could be. He's like, for you, especially with someone who has kids. He has a kid too. He's like, that may go over the line. And I read up on it, and I discovered the thing he was talking about, and I went, nope. No, done. That almost would have been a walkout of the theater.
Is that the new Crimes of the Future?
That's it. Crimes of the Future. Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh. The trailer was cool, but I don't know. So yeah, Cronenberg would be, I think, on that list. And of course, the great doesn't have a large body of work, but he's like one of my favorite directors now. Is Mr. Robert Eggers.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, the Witch and The Lighthouse are an amazing 1-2 punch.
Yeah. And more recently, I would say Ari Aster has some recent bangers too. He did Hereditary and Midsommar.
Oh yeah.
So he's kicking butt too. I don't know what his next movie is, but yeah, and there has been like an upswing of some recent like independent horror that's pretty great. But those are
a lot of schlock. You go on.
Well,
Tubi.
here's the not.
There's a lot of garbage out there.
Here's the not so secret truth about horror films. There's more schlock than there is good, and but the schlock is also praised by the horror fans as well for different reasons, And I'll dabble in schlock, no problem. Oh, Tubi's got some trash. Let me tell you, because like I said, horror, the entry point to horror, like if you have a decent idea and some creativity, you can pull off a horror film, I think. And you can sort of compensate for acting and maybe even budget. Some of the best early horror films were made super cheap. One of my all-time favorites is Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Of course.
But again, I can't recommend the franchise because I don't think Tobe Hooper likes the sequels either. So I can't really recommend like his own. He kind of sabotaged his own sequel, and then the third one wasn't even made by him. So and then the remakes aren't, they're hit or miss. But so that's why I or like The Hills Have Eyes is another one, but I only recommend the first one. I never even seen the sequels to that. So that's why it's hard to pick a franchise because they're not usually consistently good.
That's fair. I guess that's why I kind of switched to director too, because directors are usually pretty more consistent.
Yeah. So like if I said Wes Craven, right, then you got Hills Have Eyes, you have Nightmare on Elm Street. Now you've got Scream, the first Scream. So you got some movies there, but as franchises, I wouldn't recommend Scream 2 or 3.
I don't think anyone would.
Exactly. That's why it was tricky. Or Halloween, the same thing with John Carpenter. But yeah, directors. Cronenberg's a good choice. And I would, for starting off, I'd say watch the Fly remake. That's a great one.
It's great. So, Mr. Bobby, we have about 5 minutes left with our time together. I just thought, since it is going to be Halloween, this episode releases on Halloween.
Oh, cool.
Which is why I'm doing it. If it released like before or after, I probably wouldn't bother. But people are going out to enjoy Halloween this weekend. If it's today, if you're listening to this today, you may be going to a Halloween party or going out trick or treating. What's the one piece of advice? What's the one piece of sage advice you'd like to share with our listening audience about Halloween? Like here's the main thread, the raw nerve. Here's your sage advice on how to either enjoy it or stay safe or whatever.
This is my Angry Man Yells at Cloud Simpsons reference, but
fantastic.
I don't think I like trunk or treat.
My wife and I, we just had this conversation an hour ago. So we saw it on Facebook saying it was a meme, and the first half of the meme was kids at a door, and then the second half were kids by cars.
By cars.
With open trunks.
Yes.
And this meme was something to the effect of, so glad I lived in this era, not this era. Yeah. And you know what? Call me old dad with kid who likes to keep things centrally located. I don't mind a good trunk or treat.
No,
I think it can be really fun.
Okay.
We went to a few, one or two last year. We haven't really found any this year, which is odd. But one or two last year. And the trunks are elaborate. They're like games. Kids are like throwing balls into hoops, and one did like a pirate theme where you had to walk a plank to get to the. Like it was super fun.
Yeah,
that's contained, and the kid can kind of run around, and you can talk with other parents and such as we do.
I can imagine when done right, it has sort of like a tailgating vibe, and I guess
that's kind of
that probably can be fun. But I just hear because I have coworkers who are parents too, and I keep hearing trunk or treat, and I'm afraid to ask, like, but you're doing trick or treating too, right? But I have a feeling they're not.
Oh, really? Oh no, we're gonna do trick or treating.
Is it both? I don't want to like pry into other people's parenting, but it's just like
no. We will do both. I think there's probably one we may go to. It's again all the weekend, right? And then Monday, the 31st, which you'll be hearing this episode, we will go to one of the two. There's a few streets in town that go all out.
Nice.
Like there's a couple of streets where the cops block off the street, and then the entire block is all decked out.
There you go. Yeah.
There's one place that's like legit horror nightmare themed. Nice. Like it is just body parts and severed heads, and the owner of the house is running around with a zombie arm attached to him, scaring people. Like people go all out crazy. So we will frequent those 2 or 3 streets, But that's what we'll do. But yes, we will go traditional trick or treating, and we will trunk and treat. And my final note will be to avoid the inside of people's homes, unless you know the person they're in. So if you're out and about and you're getting a wild hair, you're like, huh? And someone says, "Hey, Sonny, come on in. I have full Reese's peanut butter cup packages for you." Say no. Just say no. Yeah. Listen to old Uncle Bill here, and don't do that thing. Real quick before we close out, I want to say a quick shout out to my wonderful, smashing, and dashing patrons. The Let's Play Princess, Theodore LaBarbera, BT Goebbels, Tim Knowles of the Elitist, Nerds Without Pants, Julian of said, I don't know why I said that backwards, Seth Sergil of the All In Podcast, Dan of Retrologic, Ryan Payne of Gamers Week, and of course, the one and only, the wonderful, the smashing, the debonair, Pete Harney. Thank you so much for your patronage to this fine program, or hopefully fine program. If you want to do likewise, patreon.com/A Gamer Looks at 4040. 2 thin smackaroos get you early access to episodes, some exclusive content I produced last month for ACL. Did like an ACL audio blog, which I think was pretty fun after each day. So just a nice little hour and a half worth of content there for all y'all to enjoy in your ears. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me for the show. And to all of you out there, happy Halloween. Stay safe. Avoid the apples with the razor blades in them. My wife brought that up today. I'm like, that can't be real. I want to find the article that states someone actually did that. I think that's now an urban myth.
I remember that being a concern even in my time.
I always remember it. Watch out for the scouring all of your. Someone had to check all your candy. That was a genuine thing. So check all your candy. Watch out for prescription drugs in your Reese's peanut butter cups. And until next time, just continue being awesome.